That place is what you see on television is exactly what that place is. Like every 5 minutes, something's happening.
Oh,
and
wow.
sometimes like a simple little bang, and other times it'll be some of the most incredible stuff I've ever seen whatsoever. That place, hands down, around this area, is probably my favorite place that I've ever investigated.
They'll never see that coming, right?
Yep, that's right.
You know, the stepbrother of Keanu. But
we'll make that the introduction.
I'll say, yeah, well, we're good to go. Everybody good? All right. So I'll just say, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest. We have Shaun Reeves. He is the lead investigator or the founder of Wichita Paranormal?
I'm actually tech manager for the team.
Tech manager.
Tech
Okay.
manager, okay.
With the Wichita Paranormal Research Society. So that was pretty cool. I didn't know there was even because I've been to Wichita probably a handful of times. I have family who live down there and had no idea that there was any kind of paranormal group. And to find out you guys are also associated with TAPS was super, super cool.
Yeah.
To find out. And I mean, you know, it is kind of a drive from where we're at, but you know, if we were in Wichita, it'd be cool to come down there and see you guys.
We can make that happen.
Yeah.
For those of you guys that don't know out there, TAPS is probably the only, actually they are the only paranormal investigating team that they don't do it for money, you know. You don't even have to pay them for their services, really. So you know that they're not going to fake it. Like, what do they have to gain from this? That's what I like about it. Yeah. They're not doing it for media attention. They're not doing it for money. Why would they lie about this?
Right.
You know, so a lot of their findings are accurate.
Which is also why I was glad that when I heard that, because, you know, this show is important to us because not only did we do it, but we're honest, open, truthful people. So when I heard that, because I think I've seen you guys on like Ghost Hunters or the TAPS somewhere on TV, but a lot of the shows are getting criticized for, oh, it's been faked. You can tell the audio's been messed with or the video's been messed with. And, you know, I mean,
well, why would they do
Ghost
that?
Adventures, but, you know, I'm like every single time.
Pretty much.
So.
But what do they have to gain from this, really? If they were lying, well, what would they gain? If anything, it'd be less credible if they didn't lie, or if they did lie. You know what I mean?
Right. And so, like I said, we're glad to sit down here, Shaun. And if you have any information about Wichita Paranormal, put it in there. So just the background and how you got started.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to start off saying you haven't seen me on television.
No.
Yeah, we are. My team, Wichita Paranormal Research Society, is part of TAPS, which means basically, so even when the show wasn't on the air, Ghost Hunters, the original show, Ghost Hunters wasn't on the air. They were still getting 1,000 emails a day. So obviously Jason and Steve and Tango aren't going to show up to 1,000 cases a day. It would, literally be impossible. So what those guys did is they created a network of teams across the world, not just, within the United States, but within the world, and to be able to cover their caseload. So, and we were actually a team before that, just doing our own stuff. And so now we are doing our own stuff plus doing stuff for those guys as well. So basically, which means that if you send an email to Ghost Nation now, the guys on Ghost Nation, then and if it's within the state of Kansas, you're going to get my team. So and we travel all over the state of Kansas for free, as you said. So it does get kind of expensive, but we do it for the love of people and love of spirits and doing just basically for the love of the game, basically.
Well, yeah, that's why I love to watch it on TV. Just the other side of, just physical type, like kind of exploring something beyond comprehension, I guess, is why I watched the show. And I don't know exactly how deep we're going to get, but I don't know how much I would even understand. So when I watch the shows, I'm like, oh, I can tell there's a connection between a story and, oh, the cell, dinged or whatever on TV. But I've obviously had a feeling it goes way deeper than that. And so what made you get involved in paranormal investigating and being the tech over there?
So my story, back when I was 15 years old, back when, it was, so I'm 42, almost 43 now. So it tells you how long I've been doing this, but
Gotcha.
15 years
Wow.
old.
You don't look 42.
Well,
No.
I appreciate that. But back when I was 15 years old, I came home from cruising one night back when it was affordable to go cruising. You guys might remember that. My dad had passed away when I was 11. He died from cancer from Agent Orange from Vietnam. And so I wasn't at the hospital when he passed away. So I was sitting at the house, and to this day, even when we get home from an investigation, say we're up in Kansas City or something, and, we come home that night, and I can't just go right to sleep. I just can't do it. No matter what time of night it is, I have to kind of unwind, before I can go lay down and go to sleep. That night was no different. I was sitting there in my mom's front room and watching television, and out of the corner of my eye, I seen what looked like somebody walk from behind the television into the dining room area, and it stood there for a couple of seconds, and I looked up and focused at it, and then as soon as I seen it, it moved back into the kitchen behind a wall, and it was gone. And to this day, I always believed that it was my dad, and it was his way of saying goodbye.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so from then on, like, mind you, that was way back before the internet, so I didn't have an avenue of trying to go and figure out, what does all this mean? So I went down to my library and started reading books and just getting my hands on anything that I could to be able to find an avenue. But it wasn't until the TV shows started coming out before teams all over started blowing up. Now there's, teams all over the United States. I can think of 3 teams here in town off the top of my head. I know up in Kansas City, there's a ton of them up in Kansas City.
Wow.
So, but larger metro area, obviously, there's going to be more teams. But, but it wasn't until those shows started coming out, any of them, Ghost Hunters being the first one, that I had an avenue and to reach out and to be able to explore all the stuff that I started learning over the years. Right. So putting that stuff into works. So
yeah, that's amazing. I've heard a lot about that. Was another thing when we were growing up. I think I heard in the newspaper they had one of the head editors at our Paola High School newspaper.
I never read it.
No. So
sorry.
One of the head stories was that similar situation. It was like my dad just passed away. I wasn't there. I think he was like across country trying to get back home. And it was really sudden. Like his dad got sick, was in the hospital, and then next thing you know, he was gone and he wasn't able to make it. And the story was he was, sitting, he was crying, kind of the same situation, kind of trying to deal with, and then he felt like something like this, and then turned and then saw someone walk. And so that was kind of the first I got into it. Then, the shows were on TV. You had Sci-Fi Network come out with a bunch of stuff, and then Ghost Adventures, and then Ghost Hunters, and all that stuff. And then I've always kind of seen it like that. So I didn't know how to take it at first because I've been Christian my entire life. So I was just like, okay, well, there's no, you're here or you're in heaven, and then, or you don't, But then the more that people come to terms and the bigger the teams get and the more the information gets spread, you're like, there's obviously something else here that we're missing.
Yeah.
Because even as you can, that's just like, at least for me, it's my human mind. It's really simple to imagine here and then heaven. Yeah. But it's really hard to fathom the in between.
If I may, go ahead, bro. My bad.
Oh, I was gonna say. Well, to further your what you're saying, being a Christian, I'm a Christian as well. I'm a deacon of a church. Wow.
What don't you do?
I'm a deacon, but I'm actually a deacon of an actual church, of a Presbyterian church. So, so and like in our team, we have several different people. We have somebody who's Buddhist. We have somebody that's a non-believer. We have a large eclectic group of people that have, that have a background in several different things. So, right. Yeah. I mean, to your point, it's, it doesn't necessarily, like in my beliefs, it doesn't take away from my belief in God.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I was reading in physics that energy cannot be created or destroyed. Yeah, so it's always transferring from one form to another. So what I think is that, their soul goes away, right? Like goes to heaven or not heaven. But I think that maybe kind of like their essence, who they were, everything that they liked, all that data. Maybe that kind of like leaves like a thumbprint, like that kind of just like stains the world just a little bit, of who they were.
Yeah.
It's left here for just like a small second,
Well,
I could see that. I don't know what to think though.
Is that a theory? I don't know if you've heard that some kind of.
Yes, that is a theory. And kind of the way you're describing with a thumbprint kind of thing, I would call that more of like a residual. I know that may sound.
Yeah. Sounds a lot more scientific.
Somebody does what I do may probably kind of correct me on that, but I would consider that kind of a residual spirit, the one that it's kind of like a tape player that plays over and over and over again, doing the exact same thing. That's that thumbprint. It's not necessarily something like when the stuff that we get EVPs, electronic voice phenomenons, or something like that. It's an intelligent spirit. I wouldn't necessarily consider that like a thumbprint in time. And like I said, well, I don't know how you guys. I know it's kind of probably some back. What's the word I'm looking for? Behind the scenes stuff, I guess. But we're gonna all play a couple pieces, give you guys a couple pieces of audio to add in here too.
Cool.
Perfect.
At the end,
thank you.
so
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Great.
So a lot of that EVP, like when I was watching on TV or YouTube or whatever, a lot of the stuff that was high was very obvious. Are the EVPs super obvious, like you can hear it immediately, or is it something you have to go back in and work through and kind of mangle with the audio and go, I think I see something there? Is it a lot tougher than it is like on television, or is it really that easy to pick up an EVP or a?
It depends. It depends. Sometimes we'll have audible voices. In a house that I was speaking to one of you guys the other day, at a house that we do. We have a museum here in town called Old Cowtown Museum.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Okay, we have
right.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing place. And if you guys ever come to Wichita, we'd be glad to take you guys on a tour or even on an investigation with us sometime. But
absolutely,
dude.
That place, like it's this large. If anybody knows what Boot Hill is, it's similar to that, where it's a bunch of buildings all in one location. And I know I'm getting to your answer, but I wanted to kind of explain what we're talking about here.
No, the floor is yours, bro.
Yeah.
But so that place there, it's a large museum, several acres, bunch of houses. Anyway, and a good majority of them were brought to that location from other places, other parts of town, and outside of Wichita, to form the museum, and it's still growing. Hopefully they add more later on. I don't know what, that's beyond my control. I don't know anything about that portion of it, but but to answer your question, like the most haunted house in that area is called the Murdoch House. The Murdoch House, when we first started investigating that house, it was weird because we had one EVP on our very first investigation. Oh, wow. It sounds like a very, very, very angry man. And when we captured that, we didn't hear it in real time. We didn't hear it until we went back and was listening to our audio. And it's so loud and sounds so aggressive. But after we kind of started piecing things together, we don't think it's as mean and as aggressive as what we did, or what we thought it was.
There it
we
is.
can talk. But so some of what I'm saying though is sometimes we'll have some that are we don't hear at the time, and some of them are super loud. Some, like this one specifically, is super, super loud. Then we have other ones that are kind of a whisper. Then we have some that are audible. So it's a complete range of just different sound bites, and
And then I was gonna
That place would be perfect for bike busters.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you for inviting us to an investigation.
That'd be cool. We've actually been talking about that.
Yeah,
I thought about having like a weekend adventure for the show. Where we try something completely crazy and different each time. And the one I've been trying to pitch lately is called Bike Busters, like Ghostbusters, but on Harleys.
Because he has a bike.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
But I didn't know, and I was gonna say I didn't know how. So we're Christian. So I didn't know. So I had two questions.
Christian,
so
but Jewish,
story
from a
behind
Jewish
the
family.
angry voice at Murdoch House, or is there
What was that?
Was there a story at the Murdoch House? Why was there someone who's aggressively, like, where did the voice come from if it was aggressive?
So so in the time frame that this house was built was back in the 1870s ish. I know I'm getting my date wrong on that, but it was around 1870, and that's what the museum tries to keep it at, is the 1870s.
Okay.
And so in that time frame, you as a visitor, if you came over and knocked on their door and said, "Hi, I'm here, I want to come in and visit," when you walk into that front door, there's a parlor goes off to the right, and that's where you would hang out. Beyond that,
like a living room,
all family.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's all family area. Now you go upstairs into the bedrooms, and that's in the bedroom that is where we at. One of the bedrooms there's 3 bedrooms upstairs that's off to the general public, but because it's all curator space. So, but in that one of those bedrooms up there is where we caught this voice, and it says, "Get out, I warn you." At the time,
that doesn't sound aggressive. That sounds friendly as hell.
Right? Yeah, it sounds super mad. But when you think about it, so like with the, if you look at it through that spectrum, that okay, now you have somebody that's already passed the threshold of where they're supposed to be in the home. That's that's a guest, not family member. But now you have a man standing in your daughter's bedroom. What would any man that has a daughter? I can guarantee it wouldn't be "Get out, I warn you." We'd be going fist cuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That makes sense.
Put the boots to them.
The context is the important part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I've liked about. Sorry.
No, you're good. So that's that. So we've kind of determined that that's what that EVP actually means. But with that being said, that was 12 years ago that we captured that EVP, and it's the only time we've ever gotten something aggressive like that. So we've gotten tons of evidence out of that house, but we've never gotten anything aggressive like that. So
I guess that is like you said, the important parts of context. If it was the daughter's room and that was you, that makes sense. Because you always picture, you're like, okay, we're in 2020 or whenever it was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
This is us now. But if it was back then, and you are completely unfamiliar with someone, like if I'm wearing this, they'd be like, what is that?
Yeah.
It'd be completely different. So I guess a lot of that is context, and I never think of it that way because we live now.
Yeah.
So
what I like is how like the Taps crew, like what he was just saying, they had one EVP, one.
It was aggressive.
They thought it sounded aggressive, but they didn't know, and then they kind of get a little context for it. That's what I liked about the show, man. And the show, they will catch a little orb floating through the air, and they don't say, "Oh, it's a ghost." They say, "We don't know what this is." Then later on, they're like, "Sorry, we debunked it. It was a June bug, or it was just a speck of dust." I like that. They're humble about it. They're not going to amp it up like, "Oh my God, it's the ghost of Abraham Lincoln. He's here to tell us about the buried treasure." They don't do that. They're like, "Nah." Now we think it was more just us, really. We're sorry. Our bad.
Right.
That's what I like about it.
You'd also be surprised how many times I've told, I on a daily basis, I tell people, because I get orb pictures all the time, like when you're talking about dust and bugs and stuff like that. I get that all the time, and you'd be surprised how many people get upset when I tell them it was just a piece of dust.
Piece of dust.
And then but I don't, and I always make sure that I don't just, oh, it's a piece of dust. I'll go in and I'll explain to them how your camera works, because, you know, over time, basically what it is over time, your camera has gotten smaller and smaller, like the little point and shoots, which most people have, or even, you know, your cell phone. Most people will shoot. Well, that lens, that flash on your camera is so close to your lens now that whenever it shoots that light out into the room, it'll hit every single speck of dust, every piece of dirt, every bug, even things that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And every house has dust. No matter how clean your house is, you could have a maid coming in. Sorry, that's probably not the correct term, but you could have a house cleaner come in every single day and clean
Is maid offensive now?
I wasn't trying to be. I apologize.
No, I don't see how maid could be offensive. If you're a maid, that's what you are. Personally, I'm a male nurse's assistant.
Right. Well, in today's council culture, it's kind of, you know, you're kind of gotta watch what you do. So, you know, but what I'm saying though, you know, that no matter how clean you keep your house, it doesn't matter. You will have dust.
Right. So,
you know, and then you'll get those little dusts, and they're not ghosts. They are completely dust. Ghost event is a huge offender of that.
So you like that? They don't upsell it. They're not upselling dust and dirt.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Did that get more common with the TV shows? They go, I caught an orb, and then now you have a ton of orb pictures.
They got to do something for ratings, man. You don't want to go spend all this money on a show and then not catch anything.
Yeah, well,
that's what I like.
I didn't know if they were getting more because it was popular on the show. So more people watch TV, the views went up, then now he gets 1,000 orb pictures a day. So I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, so I was literally just talking to a guy, one of the guys from the TV show, oh gosh, what was it called? Haunted Towns is what it was called. I was just talking to one of those guys in person just the other day. A couple of them were at Cowtown the other day, and doing an event. And I was kind of bashing on his show a little bit.
Name drop.
So, well, I mean, there's only 4 of them, so you can narrow it down. But anyway, I was, and I mean, like, I like the show. I love their show for entertainment, but for me, it's entertainment.
Hell yeah.
But for the average guy, a lot of it is entertainment. And like he said, he told me, he goes, you know, hey, listen, the show's not made for me. You know, he kind of explained it better than anybody that I've ever met from any of the TV shows. You know, he said that, well, you have to understand that not only are we trying to produce a television show, but I have a producer in my ear the entire time. And so if something, you know, like the K2 meter, which is a lot of teams use them. It's an EMF meter. It has the little lights on it. I absolutely hate that. I hate that piece of equipment. Absolutely hate it. I think it is one of the worst pieces of junk you can buy in the paranormal field.
Really?
Anyway, yeah. They're before they got famous because of TV shows, they were a $12 electrician tool.
Yep.
So, and to be
now
fair,
they're like $60, $70. I mean, I've looked it on Amazon. It's ridiculous.
They're more than that.
I know
they're
the
like
cheap ones.
120. Yeah.
Oh,
so
what about the voice boxes, the spirit boxes or whatever, where it like just skips around different channels, you know, when you hear something?
Broken radio.
Broken radio?
Yeah, it's like a white noise thing. They got this, they got that, you know, and I'm like, I don't know, man. If you're probably hearing some trucker trying to talk dirty, you know, just go some Abraham Lincoln talking about the treasure, you know.
Yeah. Well, the broken radios. So when those things. So basically, anytime that you see the stuff that comes out, our team will usually try to get one. Mind you, like I said, we're completely free, so that comes out of our pocket. So all the inexpensive stuff, when I call inexpensive, is $100 item. Because some of the stuff you see on TV is ridiculously expensive, but and some of that stuff we don't have. But like the broken radio, that was an easy one. Back in the day when Radio Shack was around, I went and bought one of those radios, and I asked to borrow their screwdriver, and I broke it right there on their counter. And the guys thought I was nuts, but you know, I was trying to get it to where it just scans through the frequencies. Yeah. But and we have one guy on the team that'll still use it on occasion, because he's gotten a few things out of Cowtown, for instance, that are credible, that isn't something like here in Wichita we have a radio station called Bob FM. Mm-hmm. Well, the guy that uses it on fairly very regularly, his name is Bob as well. So if the word Bob comes out on the radio, then he throws it out because it possibly could be Bob FM saying their call name. Yep. So but he does. Yeah, he does have some stuff that that is prudent to that specific building that he's investigating out at Cowtown or wherever we're at. I'm just using Cowtown as an example. But yeah, so and I have a piece of equipment on my cell phone. I hate. Well, I don't actually use the one on my cell phone. I use one on the Kindle. That way, I don't have internet service that could be affecting it. But
wow.
But I take it and I'll play with it. I am completely against apps as well. But this one here, it actually brought some knowledge to, like, the Murdoch house. It brought some knowledge to that house that the museum itself didn't even know. So it gave me a name.
Wow.
It gave me a name of somebody that lived in the home after the Murdochs had passed away.
What gave you the name?
Huh?
What gave you the name?
It's called the Echo Vox, VOX. Echo Vox.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started playing around with it, and it's given me good results. But I won't always. I still don't put a lot of trust in it because it is an app, but I have had pretty successful luck with it. So, to the point to where, like I said, it gave me a name. We were able to do some research, and we stumbled upon the fact that this guy by the name of Paul, which came across my Echo Vox on 3 different investigations, 3 different times, this name Paul, and I didn't have any association to that name, to that house. But through research, we ended up finding out that this guy named Paul, him and one of their daughters, her name was Pearl, after Marshall and Victoria Murdoch passed away, this couple had moved into the home for a period of 2 years, moved away, came back, lived another 2 years in the home, and then actually divorced. But they even had a child, and their child's name was Paul. Paul as well. Yeah. So we have 2 that were associated with that house and with that family.
Did you say they got divorced? Like in 1876, they got divorced.
Yeah, this would have been early 1900s, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was still pretty damn uncommon back then. It was weird for people to get divorced.
Yeah.
So for them to have lived there for 2 years, move out, come back, name their kid Paul, and then get divorced that early in history, like that's something's got to be going on. You didn't just get divorced back then.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they had gotten divorced. I never have dug that deep into their research, finding out, because I'm sure it's public record, so I'm sure that it's out there. Right. I just never dug deep into it, but I don't know, but it was cool nonetheless. So
yeah,
right.
I didn't have Tinder or Snapchat or anything, so you can't just well, done with you. On to the next one,
Well, and that also links to because a lot of them, and again, I've never been on a paranormal investigation. I've never gone to any kind of museum. I've never gone to anything really paranormal. Not because I didn't want to, but context. I have a little 6-year-old kid. It's me and my little son. So, and I'm 23. So do the math. He was a surprise.
He did it right, man.
But so yeah. So it's been me and him. And so I've always been kind of scared because there's that, at least from a Christian perspective, a lot of people say, okay, well, the paranormal, then that's all evil stuff. So then if you go and you do this, then you're going to bring that evil back home, and then your kid's going to be affected. So a lot of this paranormal, especially when it comes to whether you're like Christian, the church community that I was in growing up, it was like, never do that. Don't go in there. You're going to bring demons home with you. And that was kind of the traditional thing. And you were talking about divorce and how it was uncommon, and a lot of these negative stuff can be kind of tied with like trauma, and the residual is from that trauma. And so I didn't know if that was a belief that you shared, Shaun, that because I know maybe spirits and demons are different, and maybe what's the difference?
Sure. Well, I can tell you, so I've been actively investigating since 2007 with Wichita Paranormal. I was on a team before that disbanded. They just couldn't figure out what they wanted in their team, but it disbanded like within a year, like a lot of do. But so I've been actively investigating since 2006, and I can tell you, I have never ran across something that I would consider a negative entity. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm just saying they're so rare. I had never ran across anything that I have ever felt that was a negative. I believe in my personal opinion, and doing this for so long, that I believe you are what you are in spirit, what you were in life. Mm-hmm. So if you were a good person in life, you're going to be a good person on the other side. If you were an asshole, you're going to be an asshole. So
you never see the Big Lebowski type of ghosts on TV, though. They're never like, "Oh, this dude was chill," you know.
That's the thing too. It's been glorified to be it's a demonic presence. I took it home with me. It like ties into the episode, makes you want to go watch some more.
This guy was part alien, you know, and then he died. Next thing you know, bam, child support. You're haunted.
That's kind of what it was like pitched, and I didn't know, and that was another thing. I don't know about the team you were talking about, you were associated with, but a lot of them realized we could make some money if we tie it into, you know, the products are now expensive. If we had those, and then because if you on Ghost Adventures that happened, they had the Ghost Box, and then they had the newer version. And then that sucker was like $700 or something ridiculous.
Hey, I would have bought the hell out of that thing.
And it was all sold out. Like, because
you couldn't buy an SB7.
Yeah, no, and like you can't find them, and they're still expensive. And so people are buying them up by the boatloads. And so I didn't know if that was a quick little, like, we can snag viewers after if we say that, you know, for example, Zach on Ghost Adventures is now haunted at his house. And that's another additional story after. So I didn't know if it was a real thing you've witnessed, or if it was something that was just kind of glorified on TV. So that's something I've seen a lot.
A lot of it's both ways. I've seen like there's a place up near you guys in Independence, Belvar Winery. If you could ever get a chance to go check that place out,
Bike Busters.
Yes, absolutely. And now guys are starting to do a lot more with the celebrity of paracelebs than they are with random people like me to get into that place. But I've investigated that place several times over the years. That place is what you see on television is exactly what that place is. Like every 5 minutes, something's happening. Sometimes like a simple little bang, and other times it'll be some of the most incredible stuff you've ever seen whatsoever. That place, hands down, around this area, is probably my favorite place that I've ever investigated. But to answer your question, yes, so you do have those moments where every 5 minutes something's happening, but then there's other places like the Murdoch House, for instance. Murdoch House in Cowtown, there'll be days that you'll go in there and you'll feel like you're a guest in somebody's home, and then there's other days that you feel like it's just an empty house. So
what's the background on the Murdoch House?
Well, he was going
for those of the people that don't.
Well, he was going over. Right. Yeah, it was them, and then
they moved out. But what causes the Murdoch House to be so?
So okay, so the story of the Murdochs, in the city of Wichita, when Wichita was first founded, they wanted to create a newspaper. So the city of Wichita commissioned Marshall Murdoch to start the Wichita Eagle, which is still here today. But at the time, it was the Republican Eagle. Now it's more of Democratic rag. Over the years, it's changed affiliations over the years, but it was a Republican rag at the time. But so when he was commissioned by the city of Wichita, he moved from Chicago, and they brought this beautiful house by train. They ordered out of the Sears and Roebuck catalog, built the house, and they had 9 kids in total.
Boy,
no, I apologize. 7 kids in total. There was only 5 of them that made it past birth. And then one of them died at the age of 9 of spinal meningitis.
Wow.
Her name was Love and Tangle.
Her name was what?
Love and Tangle. It's the flower.
Okay.
We call it today. We call
that
it
is a badass name.
Oh, we call it a weed. It's a weed technically.
It's a weed now, but
back then they didn't have weed.
They didn't have fancy.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I was like,
that is the coolest ringtone I've ever had, though. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good.
I meant to turn this damn thing off.
At the time, they didn't have nurseries to go buy flowers. So what flowers they had were wildflowers. So that's why we call it a weed now, because most wildflowers are weeds. So our Victoria Murdoch's favorite flower was Love and Tangle, and so she named their child after it.
That's sweet.
So now, but her family referred to her as Tangle. So when we go into the home, that's how we always refer to her as Tangle. She is the number 1 prominent spirit in that house. Tangle is, and she is the most active one. I have actually pre-COVID, our last investigation there. We were doing a public ghost hunt, and where people paid to come and investigate with us, and I was in between groups, and I ran to go to the restroom, and so I walked past that front parlor that I was speaking of earlier, that you would come in and hang out as a guest. I walked past that room, and there was a full figure of a person standing in that room, and it was as solid as you and I. Like, it was kind of plexiglass. Like, I know that there was nobody back there. So
what would it look like?
I thought,
What the person look like? You said it was a full figure.
Yeah, it was a little girl. It was about the average year-old girl, and she just stood there. And as I walked by, I just kind of caught it. As I was walking by, turned back around because I was like, "Oh my God, I just seen that!" Like there was somebody in the house with me, and I said, "Hey, there! I just seen somebody standing there." But by the time that I turned around, she was gone.
Wow.
We've seen her tons of times. Like I said in the earlier, the upstairs is off limits to the public, but when we're investigating there as just ourselves, not as a public ghost hunt, they open that door and we get to go upstairs. And when we go in there, we always, because of that EVP that I was talking about earlier, we always have a way that we kind of investigate that house. Whenever we're getting ready to go upstairs, we'll stand at the bottom of the stairs and kind of ask for permission pretty much before we go upstairs. So and every once in a while we'll be watching upstairs looking for listening for something to happen, or physically trying to see something to happen, and there'll be a figure of a little girl that'll kind of peek around the corner at us, and it'll be just kind of a shadow spirit. It's not like a full-blown like solid person, but she'll peek around the corner, and she has kind of curly long hair, and then you can see the hair actually dangle off of her head, and as she peeks around the corner, and it's really cool. There's 3 or 4 of us that's seen that, and several different times, and it's becoming to the point where it's pretty common. But I spend a lot of time in that specific house that I have a lot more interaction with her than any of the rest of the team does. So yeah, so she's
cool,
kind of
man.
became my first kid. So
so she attaches to kind of like a father type figure. So you're the one she comes out to a lot. Or?
She does.
Okay.
She does like guys. She loves guys.
Okay.
Daddy's girl.
Daddy's girl.
Yeah. She ain't doing no crab walking stuff you see on TV or nothing like that. She's just there, hanging out. I like that.
And I have a clip that I'll send you as well. Of you were talking about the SB7 or the Spirit Box or Broken Radio, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
One that you can hear clear as day. We believe to her saying, "Daddy, you promised," and that was captured by one of the guys on our team, Bob, who captured it standing on the staircase. And he had felt like right before that they were him and the founder of our group, Shane. They were walking up the stairs, and Bob felt like a burst of wind that went by him, and then Shane was standing right above him, and then he felt like something run their finger across the back of his leg. And Shane we always call him a ghost repellent because nothing ever happens around him.
That's how I am. I'm a ghost on him. My old roommate was the last gothic kid ever. Okay, he was the last goth. He was my old roommate. He's like, "Hey man, we ain't got money to go do anything. You want to go someplace scary and haunted?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to see something. I'm bored. We live in a small town. Ain't got no money. Hell yeah, I'll see something crazy. I never see anything, man, ever. I don't know what it is, man. Even I used to work at a prison forever. People around me would see something like, you didn't see it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I didn't see shit. I never do.
Well, I probably got to be with professionals.
Probably. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I think I got that ghost thing.
I hate the term professional because there is not one person in our field that's actually a professional. You can't go get a college degree for this. Right. So there's not the term professional. I'm not professional. I am professional at what I do, but I am not a professional. Right. So, there is a difference. But
you got the business cards?
We do have business cards.
Yeah, you're a professional then. That's what separates the men from the boys. It's the business cards.
Well, and I was going to tie into, you were saying, so you've captured Tangle. You've got audio of her from an investigator. You know that she attaches to kind of the male figure. So, and we were talking about context earlier and kind of how all that plays together. And that's also why I didn't like the people at church who were like, oh my gosh, it's demonic. You can't be doing that, because there's obviously way more buried in there. Like you can tie all of this together and you go, I have a kind of an image of Tangle and I can piece together kind of residual or whatever you were going to call it. So it's also why it was curious to me and awesome that we got you to come on here, Shaun, because it opens up a lot for me. I mean, it doesn't change my belief in God or my belief.
Sure, absolutely. And it shouldn't.
Right, but it just is another thing way out there that maybe we'll never understand. Maybe in a time we'll be able to understand. But because I went to investigate. Have you heard of the Crescent Hotel? I forgot where it is in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Have you been there to do anything, any investigations or personal?
I've never investigated it. I've been there as a guest. I've never spent the night there. I've walked every single hallway, even though you're not supposed to. I've walked every single hallway.
Attaboy.
I've been in a few I wasn't supposed to be by myself. But
just plead ignorant. Oh, I didn't know. I had no clue. My bad. I mean, I'm already here. Let me just walk back the long way, Nobody told me anything.
I had a little experience in there, nothing major to write home about. And it was there's a party room, I guess you'd call it. Like, it's just an open room that's across the hall from the Dr. Baker's bar. Yeah. And we didn't, it was 10 o'clock in the morning and we weren't drinking. But we had walked over into this room and we walked in, and as soon as we walked in, one of the ceiling fans started coming on, and it wasn't motion sensor. At least at the time, it had a switch on the wall, but the ceiling fan just automatically came on and started spinning out of control, like it was going to actually come out of the ceiling.
Holy cow.
I can't. I'm not talking it up to being paranormal because I don't know, right. But it was unusual for the fact that because you should be able to tell, oh, right there in the corner is the motion sensor. There was no motion sensor in that room.
Right.
But it did pop on, and the fan started going, and it was kind of weird. And it was the center one. There was 3 fans in that room, and only one of them came on. So I don't know.
It is weird. Well, I asked that one specifically because it was right before COVID, like this year, probably around like February. So me, my buddy Adam, and then his fiance, we went there. We were watching, ironically, Ghost Adventures, and they did the Crescent Hotel.
It is a good show.
And well, I mean, it just the place it was still old fashioned. The wood was the same. Like it was the fireplace that's in the episode is still there. Like the original, like everything's still old. It looks like a cool place to go visit. And then, chalk it up to being haunted. So we all went there. And when I was there, I was really excited, like we're going to see something. And it just felt like an old hotel. So granted, they had a lot of it blocked off because they were kind of preventing from COVID,
Sure.
But it wasn't near the amount that it was now. It was way, way before it was kind of, don't travel, don't do this, don't do that. So a lot of it, they didn't have any ghost tours at night. They didn't have any of that going on. So we basically just stayed in an old hotel room with the same doors. I mean, the bathroom was renovated. But, I didn't see anything, and the haunted rooms were taken. So the people, like spirits that were active. But, I mean, it was a cool place to go. I just didn't know if you had any personal experience there because I didn't really. So
one of our other team members had went there right at the beginning of COVID, and they were still doing the ghost tours. And she actually had stayed in Michael's room.
Yes, I've heard of Michael's room. Yeah.
So, and it's it's one of the haunted rooms. So she ended up staying there. It was just her and her dog, and she was hoping to be able to do some investigations, but because it is one of the haunted rooms, there was people outside of her door all night long, just hanging out.
That'd be creepy in itself.
Yeah.
Right. So she's like, well, any audio I would get, I'd have to throw out, because, it could be something that's somebody that's standing outside the door talking. She said she didn't get any sleep, and she said the tour was okay. But yeah, maybe you need to go after COVID and go take the tour.
Yeah, I will. I mean, it was a cool place. I'd go back. But I just didn't know that was my only place that I've ever visited that was.
Oh man, I've invited you several times. I've been to ancient Indian burial grounds that were then covered up by Civil War cemeteries that were then covered up by a highway.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been to one of those. Weird feelings, but nothing crazy, nothing out of the blue.
You're the repellent.
I've been, pretty much. I've seen one crazy thing ever. I worked at a prison, and I saw this. I'm sorry, Lieutenant, I got to tell this story. I saw this inmate comes out of his cell, all like, oh, well, look at me, I'm a felon, my cell's haunted. And me being me, I started shit talking. I started making fun of him. I'd be like, you're an adult, man. You're big as hell. You're all tatted up. And I'm like, you're scared. You're saying your room's haunted. I'm like, no, you ain't pulling that one on me. So no. So I go in there to mock him. I'm standing in the door. I'm talking mad shit. This inmate just got into the cell. There, it's completely encased in concrete. There's no one. There's no nothing. And then there's like a little fan, right? Like, let's say this is the fan. And it's sitting right here on his desk. That's all he's got. They get a fan when they get in. That's all he's got, a fan. It ain't plugged in or nothing. And it just goes, let me see if I can do it around it. It just goes straight up. It goes, in the middle of me talking shit, it just stands up, stops for a good 2 seconds. It felt like an hour to me. I'm just sitting there like, what the hell?
Did it go back down?
No, it went forward a couple feet, and then it stops. Okay? You watching? Then it does, and I'm like, okay, it stops again. That's fucking weird. At this point, I'm still in the middle of my sentence of talking shit. I'm just frozen looking at it, and all of us are just like, and then it goes down like this, and then slowly on its back.
Okay.
And I run towards it because I'm like, I don't know how, but that inmate's fucking with me. I got to look for wires. I got to, what the hell? The inmate's not even in the room. He wouldn't go back there. It's just me and the other officers sitting there,
Yeah.
He's gone. He gonzo, he ain't there. Next thing you know, it's like laying here. I'm sitting there staring. I'm like, what the hell is that? You know, like how does it move like that? It's not plugged in anything. He's got nothing in here. He just moved in here an hour ago.
No wires.
It goes like this, man. It just like rolls over. Again, really, really slow.
Oh.
Like slower than that. Just real, like 2 turns, and then stops.
I've never.
Like right here, like in an odd position, not flat on its back, but like stops like that. Now, if somebody had kicked it or anything, it would have rolled back. It would have done. It didn't. It just like it'd be like flipping a coin and then it landed right in the middle. Like it was just fucking weird. So everybody else runs out of there. I run towards it again. Like, how is it? I'm confused as hell. You know.
Well, I didn't know if that was just like I said, glorified TV, but.
That actually happened to me.
Well,
so we run out of there, and I had to swear never to talk about it ever again. I'm sorry, Lieutenant. Sorry, officers. And that was the only time I never made fun of that inmate again. Man, I'm like, okay, you could have a new cell.
Is that common,
fucking with
Shaun? Like stuff to move? Have you had stuff move?
Oh yeah. So actually, I had
like
what you're talking about. I have a story very similar to what you're talking about, but it was in the Murdoch house. So I know I promise we 2 other places other than Cowtown. I promise you, it's just we have a lot of time.
You go where the fish are biting, son.
Yeah. But we were in the Murdoch house, and we had our camera system set up. Well, one of our initial claims was when we first started going there was at Christmas time they'll. One of the reenactors, the interpreters, whatever you want to call it, volunteers, will set in the Murdoch house, and they have an orange, and they'll sit there and poke cloves into the orange, because back in the 1800s they would use those as air fresheners, and to keep bug stuff off of their clothes. So they would hang these oranges with cloves into their closets. So and they smell really nice. So there's citrus and clove. It smells really good.
Yeah.
So she's sitting there and she's poking these cloves into this orange, and there's this candelabra that's sitting on a table. And as she's doing it, there's no guests walking through the house, and it's just her in the house, and she's doing her thing. And this candelabra, one of the candles in the candelabra, comes up out of the candelabra, comes up over top of the entire candelabra, and then the candle falls onto the floor.
Oh my!
So did it stop and everything, like the fan? They're just like stopping midair.
There's no fan. It's an 1800s home. So.
Oh no, I'm saying, was it like the fan? Like did it when it moved out? It stopped and everything.
Yeah. Well, no, she said it just picked straight up, went over top of the entire candelabra. It's a candelabra with 5 candles in it.
Yeah.
So it one of the back ones, and then as it came up, it went over top of the other 4. And then fell to the floor.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So of course, so for us, they were like, "Oh, that's awesome! I hope we can catch that on camera." So we started every time we'd go in there, we'd start putting our cameras. When we put our cameras up, we'd always have one camera facing that candelabra. Candelabra's in the exact same spot. We would have her go over with her white gloves and double check, make sure all the candles are all in, stuck into the candelabra where they're not going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're nice and tight, and we'll just go about our investigation. And Sherry, who's on our team, she is in the house. Her and another investigator, I don't remember who she is with, but they were down in around that candelabra, and they were asking for anything to pull a candle up, and of course nothing happens because nothing ever happens like that on command.
Right.
So they leave it. And they go upstairs, and they're investigating upstairs. And when all of a sudden they heard a bang downstairs. So they go running downstairs to see what it is. A candle had actually come up out of the candelabra and then turned itself sideways, and then put the candle sideways on the holder that it was on. And it was facing if the front door's over here, it was facing opposite, like it was facing the kitchen's in the back of the house. So it was facing the kitchen. Well, of course, they start talking, they ask it, well, if that was you, can you make that candle either fall or maybe rotate or something? a little bit later, all of a sudden that candle started rotating because she starts talking about, oh, I need to go get Shane. He needs to come over here and see this. And so it actually had turned and faced the door. And so everybody's freaking out going, oh my God, we caught every bit of that on camera. So mind you, so we are what we do for Cowtown is in October every year, we always do public reveal, basically. Kind of like at the end of Ghost Hunters, you always see where they sit around the table and then Jason and the guys will show the evidence that they caught, Yeah. We do that same sort of thing, but with the public. And so we have play a video, and then we all go out to different locations and people come to us and we play some audio. And if we have any video or pictures or whatever, we show that stuff within the homes, each individual building. Yeah. Oh. So we had a camera facing that candelabra. Everything is great. We had to have caught that on camera. Sadly, it was, yeah, right. I know you.
Oh, man.
That investigation, we had just changed one of our camera systems over to a DVR system. At the time, we were using our DVD recorder, DVD burner or whatever, to where at the end of the investigation, it'll just dump everything onto a CD or DVD, and we can, distribute them out to people. And that DVR player corrupted, and it corrupted the entire night's investigation. We lost that, and that would have been amazing to be able to see that candle come up out of that and lay itself back down. We lost it all.
Dang.
Pseudoscience my ass.
Yeah.
That's cool shit right there, man.
And me being manager, like it wasn't my fault, obviously, but you can't stop a file from corrupting. But it made, I was physically sick because of that. Because I mean, that would have been like the creme de la creme. You can never beat this. So right. But I mean, we have some other stuff that's happened out there at Cowtown that we actually do have on video. We have this. This is actually in the farmhouse out that we captured this, but we have this mason jar, and it's called the Irish wind chimes. And this is an idea we captured, or we got this idea from a team over in Ireland. That's why we call it the Irish wind chimes.
Okay.
So the theory that a spirit can walk through a wall or a door or whatever, you've always heard that. Well, if they can do that, they should be able to manipulate glass. They should be able to, run their hand through glass. So we have a wind chimes in a jar. And so wind chimes, although, they're everybody, no matter what period of history that you're talking about, wind chimes is something that everybody knows what a wind chimes is. No matter, even if it would have been in the Dark Ages, they would have had wind chimes. Maybe not like what we have, but they would have had wind chimes. So we have these wind chimes in a jar, and basically the theory is it's vacuum sealed. Wind can't move it. The only way that it can be moved is if they're like, without anybody being in the building, is an earthquake, or a storm or something like that. Well, one night we had these wind chimes in a jar sitting on a table, in this kitchen table in the farmhouse out there, and with a camera on the jar. That's the only thing that this camera can see is just that jar. And it sat there all night. The house was completely locked up. We made sure that we told all the investigators nobody's allowed to go out to the farmhouse, which everybody's happy about it because middle of summer, there's no air conditioning in that building. It gets super hot in that building. So everybody's super happy that they don't have to go out there. And it's a kind of a hike out to get out to this farmhouse. And so we locked that house up. Nobody was allowed to be even on that side of the property. Well, during the night, all of a sudden, these wind chimes start moving in the jar. No storms, no earthquakes, no nothing. Nobody was in that house. Nobody was around the house. There was no possible way for those wind chimes to have moved. And it moved, 6 times in 30 minutes, and then it was done. Yeah.
Do you just have a motion sensor on it or anything?
No. So everybody, so this question gets asked to us all the time. Or gets told to us all the time. Hey, I want to become a paranormal investigator. And then I explain to them, okay, what you see on the television or what you hear of us going out and doing the investigations, that's the fun part. That's where we get to have fun. The business side of it is where we have to go home, and every single piece of equipment that we, audio, if we have multiple recorders, because we all listen to our own stuff. We don't have a team of people that listen to our stuff for us. So if you're running a 5-hour investigation on 2 recorders, that's 10 hours of audio you have to listen to. Video, that's another 5 hours, so 15 hours per investigation. So, and then for a while, pre-COVID, we had an investigation every single weekend. It's literally this is literally a full-time job. So now with that in mind, 5 hours of that was watching a jar. And that, and you can't fast forward through it. You have to sit there and watch it. It's 5 hours of watching a jar on television,
right?
And hoping something happens. So
you got to make a drinking game out of that. That's the only way I can do it.
Well, it's kind of like this
wants to be an
podcast.
investigator, but that's where it separates you, is because are you willing to sit there and watch a jar on a television for 5 hours? Because that's what it is.
Well, the good news is, Shaun, I like that. It's funny that you say that, because that's exactly the mentality when I thought of this show. I was like, you just get some microphones, a camera, no big deal, record it and just post it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, nope. After this, I have to match everything up. I've got to spend, so every episode you spend hours putting it together, making it. So
sure, but editing.
Yeah. So the good news is,
and we still don't have people watching.
You get rid of the people who don't want to. They're like, okay, well, I thought this was going to be easy, and then you kind of weed those people out. So I like that. Not saying you guys weren't or anything like that, but it's nice to see that you guys have good evidence. You guys watch everything, and you do everything just for the open, honest conversation of, hey, spirits are here, and it's real. So it's just something that I've always been intrigued with and trying to kind of understand. And then I have one last question.
I got a few.
Yeah, that's fine. I was going to say mine was, I don't know what your belief is, or if you guys have any connections to varying levels of spiritual energy. So you've got loud voices and small voices. And again, you hear, oh, that's just how much spiritual energy they can tap into. I didn't know if you guys had any theories about that, or why some are loud, some are quiet, if it's just the level of emotion or residual that's left over or anything like that.
No, I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. I don't know if that's just what they can muster up as far as energy. I don't know. I assume that's probably what it is. But I mean, like I said, it's to me, audio is no different than of something visual. Sometimes you'll see, or it's not very often that you get to see something. Right. But whenever you do, it usually is kind of in a shadowish kind of form. But then on the super, super, super rare occasions, something crazy like a child standing behind a plexiglass, that's as solid as you and I, it happens, but it's, with no explanation. So I assumed that was just, that was the amount of energy she was able to muster up. And I assume that's what it is, but I don't know. Okay. I'm just speculating.
And then you hear the same thing about, humans can only see a certain spectrum, and there's a whole bunch this way, a whole bunch the other way. So again, that's just something we know now, but it's just, I didn't know if there's any answers.
Do they know they're ghosts?
And a lot of times, as far as audio is concerned, but you're right. It's once again, it's no different than your visual. Your human ear can only hear a certain range. Right. A lot of times your recorder itself will pick up a higher frequency than what you can hear, but you're through digital mumbo jumbo. Not sure how it works personally, because not a recorder manufacturer. But it can pick up a little higher range, and then whenever you're listening to it back, it will kind of, you can still, like if you put it across like Gold Wave or Audacity or something, you can see the range of where your voices are coming in, and a lot of times they'll actually fall into that higher range that you can't normally hear with your human ear.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
that's cool.
So ask your question. I've always been curious about that.
Yeah. Do you think that they are aware of what they are, or you think they just think that people dressed in different clothes are there at their house? Like, are they stuck in a time, or are they aware that they are ghosts, or do they know that they've died? Like,
that's another question I can't answer. I think they might. I think that they're all kind of an individual case. I know it seems like I don't have a good answer, but it's honest to God truth. I don't. Like one of the questions when we're investigating, I always tend to ask, for us, it's 2020. What year is it for you?
Right.
Who is the president? I try to get questions like that to try to give me some kind of clarification to see if they know the difference. I've never had anybody or one of them come up, oh yeah, it's 2020. Trump is the president. I've never had that.
You've never had future ghosts.
Yeah,
with the lotto numbers.
Or that they know that they're in 2020 and they died back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because that was another question too. Because a lot of people, they're like, "How did you die?" And then usually, if they say something on TV, they go jail, and they're like, oh, "He died because he hung himself in the jail cell." I didn't know if you guys had any evidence like that to kind of prove your theory.
So we have one. This is kind of a cool story too. So once again, Cowtown. There's a hotel. Yeah. There's a hotel at Cowtown. The hotel that is actually shown. It's called the Southern Hotel. It's the building that's there is not actually the original Southern Hotel. That hotel itself burnt down. But the building that's currently in place at one time was an old mercantile building. But the first organized murder of Wichita was orchestrated in one of the rooms upstairs.
Oh, goodness.
During a poker game. So we were up and investigating around that room one night, and at the time we don't know, at this time we don't know anything about the murder itself. We don't know who was involved. We don't know the characters that was in play as far as who did the murder. Nothing. Who got murdered. But we were asking questions, and one of the ladies on the team had said, "Do you make money?" And we got an EVP that's super loud. It says, "Adam stole it." Well, okay. So over the last several years, we've been trying. Every time we've gone up there and investigated, we always ask, "Who's Adam?" We always try to get, "Who's Adam? Who's Adam?" What did Adam steal? We know you said a long time ago, you said that Adam stole some money. Who's Adam?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the historian on our team, she actually, like, her day job is she's a curator of the Sedgwick County Museum downtown Wichita, and so she was actually doing some research on something else that wasn't even affiliated with that murder specifically, and this was just a few years ago, actually, which was kind of cool. So she was going and doing some research and on something else. Well, that murder actually popped up. The guy's name that actually got murdered was Mick Adams. So we got Adams, but we got Adam. We didn't get Mick, and we didn't get the S at the end on our record. But it was pretty dang close.
Right.
So
Adams stole the money or whatever.
Like, yeah.
Adams stole the money.
Go, "Hey, Mercer," I'd be like, "Adam stole it." I don't know why they're Southern, but but yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, for us, like, that was. It's kind of like it's not the Holy Grail, because obviously the Holy Grail for anybody would be a full body apparition, but audibly, that is the Holy Grail, because it legitified what we actually do, you know, because it gave us, this is real. So, because we have no knowledge of that, so of the names of the murder at the time. So,
and that's something that's I was always curious about. I'm like, they are putting pieces of history together from audio, from visual confirmation. There's a whole nother side to this that maybe we'll never know, or maybe we'll get closer and closer and closer to knowing. But again, you can't, I mean, you got to understand at the end of the day, all of us are all human beings. So we're only limited to our visual spectrum until technology catches up, or, you know, audibly we can't hear certain things. So it's just kind of like, you know, maybe we'll find out 100 years from now, we'll have the best tech, and then you'll be able to see some spectrum. You know, I don't know the technology of it, but I've always been curious and always wanted to go on a ghost hunt.
Yeah, so. Same. You know, I've always, if somebody tells me I shouldn't do something, I'm going to do it twice. You know, it's just kind of how I am. Somebody says, oh, you should go bust the road. You should go bust the road with ghosts. Now I really want to know why. You know, I've always been like that. So that's kind of what got me into it. Nothing noble, to be honest with you. I didn't have anything tragic. I just, okay, why not? You know, like, you don't want me to? Okay.
Well, and, you know, my sister has always picked up on little things. And so I get, it's probably hokum. It's probably BS. But there's a room in my parents' house. They don't know any history of the house. It's like the oldest house in where they live, in that neighborhood. And they say her bedroom was like in the back. They're always like, it's weird in there. You know, they're like, things move and shake. And my son, he goes down there and he'll sleep in that room because it's really cold. It's in the basement. And he won't sleep in there anymore because he said the same thing that, you know, my sister told me that week before. He goes, oh, it's weird in there because I don't like it. He goes, things shake. I'm like, what's going on? So I'm like, I guarantee it's probably just them going through it. But like, there's so much that I don't know. Like, there's a lot of I don't know answers. So, but do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just say, because I'm chock full. That was all I had. But thank you for
that. Man, I got quite a bit.
Is it Belvar? Belvar Winery? Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
That and Oddfellows.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Building. Yes.
Well, what was it, like a cult and then an orphanage and then a winery and then the guy's body's on display there where they make the wine?
Yeah, that's a big place. Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. They do weddings there, and it's lovely. Like they've redone what used to be the orphanage and turned it into the winery, and then they've turned it into a bed and breakfast and stuff upstairs. And but yes, George is the body that you're talking about that's on display. His name's George, and it's part of an Oddfellows ritual thing that they would do about overcoming death or something. I'm not an Oddfellow. I'm a Mason, but not an Oddfellow, so I don't know how all that stuff works.
You're a Mason too?
Yes.
I thought I saw the compass rose on the back of your phone case.
Yep.
What level?
Yep.
What degree?
Yeah, I'm a third degree.
Can you tell us?
Probably not.
Can you give us a?
Yeah, they can't say.
Can I come to a meeting? I'll bring coffee. I just want to know, man. Like I said, people tell me I will do it twice. I just want to know what they do.
Well, is that the thing you were talking about? The body that they have preserved that you can see? That's
it was like a cult.
Well,
then it became an orphanage, and then I think Oddfellows.
George is a skeleton. George is a skeleton, and you can find a lot about their rituals, because I don't know how active Oddfellows even are anymore, but a lot of their rituals are kind of out there. But as far as the buildings itself, there was an orphanage, which is what they've completely redone. Then there's a hospital, and then there is a old folks home. And that are three buildings side by side, and then there's in the back behind the buildings is a bunker, and it was at the bunker they would use for, I believe, refrigeration, and also it was a place for people to go if there was a tornado or whatever.
Gotcha.
It's a full-blown bunker, and then way off in the back in a pasture is a cemetery. And I've actually never been out to the cemetery, but I don't need to go out to the cemetery. There's plenty of activity. And I don't investigate cemeteries anyway, but
Like Busters.
Is that just because they're incredible, or why don't you investigate cemeteries?
I investigate cemeteries because, well, a couple reasons. One, because we do things in a scientific way, we can't, as far as video and audio and stuff like that, you have to deal with the outside climates. You have to deal with cars going by or bugs, dust. So, you know, there's just too many outside elements that can affect your investigation. And the other reason is, and I say this by saying that I have had things happen in a cemetery while not investigating, but I have a firm belief that, you know, when I die, I don't want to haunt my dead body.
Right.
So I want to go to a place that I love. So I don't want to waste my time going and hanging out in a cemetery at night. Although I love cemeteries, they're so cool. You know, the history in the cemetery, you know, reading people's headstones and stuff. Going into those cemeteries is amazing, and just seeing the different artwork in it is amazing. But as far as what we do, it doesn't benefit us. Nothing we do actually benefit.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, and that kind of maybe even goes back to what you were talking about spiritually. I don't know if with my belief and going and investigating the cemetery, and why would I haunt my dead body? I don't know if I necessarily believe that spirit that's hanging out in a cemetery may not be that person that I'm maybe trying to chat with. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It may be something so not necessarily good. So I just don't go hang out in the cemetery at night. So not saying that I won't, I'm just saying that we don't.
Right.
So,
no, I get it.
I got you.
That was another story too. Someone brought out, they said they brought out in the paper, obviously in their high school paper. Granted, it's 16, 17-year-olds writing articles.
Were you the only person that read that, or am I just a piece of shit?
It was outside the library. I guess you never went to the library?
I read a lot. I didn't care to read the newspaper. I figured I'd see it on Facebook, or some like, you know, preppy person would just tell me, oh my God, and then just start humble bragging. I really didn't need a newspaper. It was high school, you know? It's a small town. It's high school. I'll figure it out one way or the other. I worked at the grocery store and the only Mexican restaurant in town. I would find out sooner or later.
Yeah, you had a lot of gossip. But,
I hear the tea,
that
son.
was the story. They went to the cemetery at night. They brought a Ouija board, and it didn't go well for them. And I forgot the exact article, but I was like, I don't know if I believe in, you know, I mean, like you said, stuff happens in cemeteries, but like I wouldn't haunt myself. I wouldn't. I mean, maybe I'll go visit and say, okay, maybe if I was cognitive, knew I was dead, that kind of a thing. But I just didn't necessarily believe in a lot of cemetery stuff.
I don't think Ouija boards are accurate. Are they?
I own one. My wife will not let me play with it in the house. So I've never pulled it out. I don't bring it. I will never bring it on an investigation. And mine is an antique board. But I just, but my wife won't let me play with it. So, but to be honest with you, I can't say that it doesn't work, and I can't say that it does. But I want to say I believe in them to the aspect that not like what you would see on like the movie Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
But I do believe that they do work.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that things can get trapped into those boards too. A lot of the people that go and play with a Ouija board doesn't know the proper way to close a board.
You light it on fire. You light
They
it on
do not-
fire.
Yeah, you don't. No. Like, no, you can still use the Ouija board like afterwards, but like you just have to be able to tell it goodbye, and you have to close your conversation.
Right.
Like, you know,
You gotta hang up.
most people like, okay, well, I'm done, and then they leave that window open,
Right.
and that's that is enough to draw in something that you don't necessarily want in your home.
Right.
And the other thing that people, the other problem that people, the other thing that happens with those, that when people start playing with a Ouija board, is and it's no fault of their own. It's just the way humans speak. But they'll say, "Is there anybody out there that would want to communicate with us?" Well, when you do that, you're opening up the entire world to come into your home.
Yeah.
Is there anybody out there? Out there means anywhere.
Yep.
So
yeah.
you have to make sure you're choosing your words correctly. When you're playing with a Ouija board, you have to use the terms like, "Is there anybody in this home that would like to speak with me?" And you have to be cognizant whenever you're using those words on what you're supposed to be, or how you say things, because you don't want to bring something from the outside into your home. That's how your house gets haunted. No, not really, but
bam, child support, your house is haunted. That's how it works.
I was like, uh-oh.
It possibly could. I mean, we've heard people. We've investigated homes, personal homes, that where people will go in. Have you ever played with a Ouija board? Yes. And they'll go through they'll go through things, and then it wasn't until after they started playing with their Ouija board, their house had became haunted. 90% of the time we can find a reasonable explanation for their house being haunted, that it's actually not a ghost, because that's what we actually do. We come in to try to find a reasonable explanation for your house. Why do you believe your house is haunted? And we come to find out it's something like, in the middle of the night we hear, scratching on the walls. Well, we go outside and then there's a tree that's leaning against their house, and every time the wind blows, it scratches against the side of the house.
Right.
It's something, it seems simple, but, at that moment, in that heat of the moment, when things are happening in your home and you're by yourself and you just don't have, you just don't know, like, it just kind of freaks you out and you just don't rationally think. Right. That's actually what we do. But that small percentage is what that's the stories that everybody wants to hear, what we're talking about today. So, and those are the stories, and I love telling those stories too, but
all day.
But I also want to preface that with saying that what we actually do is we actually try to find logical explanations for why your house is actually haunted.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
makes sense. Question number 2. I read recently that the geomagnetic forces from the Earth's core actually play some kind of, there's a correlation there that they play a part in the energy given to certain haunted areas. So, like, if a certain house has a certain geomagnetic frequency there, if it ranges too high, that can cause more spirit
activity.
More activity. You have a higher chance of that. Is that true? I just heard about this, read about it a month ago.
I don't really know about that, to be honest with you. I haven't read that.
I've seen it in Ghost Adventures at one time. Like, they were using this. It was a meter with a long stick. Oh, sorry, computer. And they would read areas of the yard, and for whatever, there's a huge spike by where the house is, and then away from the house by the entrance, it was nearly like 0. And then for whatever reason, towards the house and farther that way, it was a big property. It was a higher field of energy. So I saw that. Field. Yeah, just whatever you were, geometric field. It was a big box that they had.
Geomagnetic.
Magnetic, yeah. Something like that. That's where I heard it first. So I didn't know if that was true or glorified on television.
Well, certain areas in Hollywood, even, they have more. There are more dips there. That's why.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if you never heard of that. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm not a rocket appliance by no means. I don't know. I just read this somewhere. I ain't no rocket appliance. I ain't a rocket surgeon. I'm just trying to piece together what I read somewhere.
Right.
Is that true?
I don't even want to comment it because I don't have any idea. I honestly
okay.
But how are you guys dealing with the? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, but with that, I guess you could probably say that's true because I guess because they say like limestone, when the house has a lot of limestone in it, usually like limestone is a conductor of energy. So, or rivers also, which that all creates that geothermal or geomagnetic pulse. So
the water thing's true.
Yeah, there could be something with that. So, yeah.
Look at us.
Okay.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, I didn't biff it.
Well, I was gonna say, because I gotta get.
And I didn't read the high school paper.
Well, I was say we gotta get going because I have to work tonight. So I work night shift. So
last question.
Last one.
I'm sorry. Last one.
Actually, and I want to make a comment. When you get finished, I want to get a comment.
Yeah.
So I can a picture. I got a picture I'm gonna send you.
Yes, please.
You can put up on this, and it's about a personal home. But go ahead and ask your question. Then I'll talk about that.
Okay. Craziest thing you've ever seen, and I guess like what would you investigate if you could? If you were given the opportunity to investigate anything, what would it be and why?
2 places. The White House, because nobody can ever get in the White House.
Damn it. Beat me to it.
So my other one is Graceland. I have a huge fascination for Elvis. I love Elvis.
Do you think he died?
Yes, I do. I completely believe that he's dead.
I'm agnostic.
But
he knew karate, man. He's got to be out there. He knew karate. Okay.
What's Graceland?
Elvis's home.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go wait in the car.
But like he's buried on the property. Yes, his
allegedly.
Allegedly, his tombstone mislabeled. His middle name is Aaron, not Aron. But it is that's one. And like even if you go do a tour of it today, you walk around with like they give you the cell phone thing that you walk around and you listen to stories about all the different rooms and stuff. And
wow.
when you walk into that house, one of the first things you hear is Priscilla Presley talking, and she mentions that every time she walks into this house, I think this is probably more of a not necessarily a statement on ghosts, but she says every time I walk into the house, I feel like I feel Elvis Presley's ghost coming to greet her from upstairs. So like she feels like that she can sense him every time she walks through those front doors at the top of the stairs.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, it's not even just that. It's not, and I don't claim the place to be haunted. I don't know, but I just because like I don't positive no team's ever been in there, but it would be just an amazing place to for me as a music fan and as an Elvis fan. I think it would be just place to investigate.
Okay, for me it would probably be James Dean's Porsche. That's the first one I want. I want to get James Dean's Porsche. The haunted spider, where every piece of it that people used got killed. Everybody that worked on the car died or lost a hand or something. This Porsche is haunted as hell.
Okay, I did not know that.
And it's so much so to the fact where it's impossible for it to be a coincidence at this point. It is statistically impossible for his Porsche not to be haunted. So I would definitely investigate that if I could, if there's anywhere where it's at. The people that ended up stealing it even died. They just died. The place where they put it, like they were going to put a museum. They locked it away. Guess what? Building caught fire. Out of the freaking blue, man.
Oh.
Yeah, I would investigate the hell out of that Porsche. Second one, I would say I'm going to have to go with the Kennedy sex tunnels. You know what I mean? Under the White House. So you get the White House. I wanted that one, but I'll go underneath the White House. I'll go under the White House. I'll go to the Kennedy sex tunnels. You know what I'm saying? I would investigate that.
Well, you guys are definitely tied into this more than I would.
That's okay. Yeah, let's just do them all together. That'd be awesome.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But did you have something you wanted to preface, Shaun?
Yeah, I was gonna tell you guys. So I'm gonna send you guys over a picture too for this. This was a picture that we took in a personal home. This is actually right before I started with Wichita Paranormal, and so it was in this personal home's bedroom, and it's you can see at the corner of it, you can see the edge of a bed. The investigator is sitting on like the headboard end of the bed, and when she took the picture, so you can see a corner of the bed, and there's no room to walk between it and this dresser. The dresser has a mirror on it. I'm going to show, and in that mirror is an image of a lady, and she looks like she's pointing, and it looks like a solid person. We went back to recreate it. So after we noticed it, we went back to try to recreate the photo. In order to get that exact image, you had to be right up on the mirror in order to get it, and you can clearly see that there's nobody around it. But I'll send you the actual picture, and then I will send you a cropped in version of the lady itself, so you can kind of go back and forth and look at both of them. It's pretty cool.
We'll turn
anything
it into a
else?
cool clip.
Yeah. Anything else you guys see crazy out there? Feel free to share it with us.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
That email's good. That we have the buzzboys12@gmail. That's the podcast email.
Don't say that on the air.
The last thing I was going to ask before we close is, so I know that COVID's a big thing, and you said every October. So is it going to be for your the reveal? I know it's going to be tough, but are you guys? Will it be a minute until we can investigate with you guys, or anything?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
We have to kind of play it by ear.
Okay.
The October event, obviously, that's up in the air. We don't,
Right.
when the guys that just did the public event here a few weeks ago, that came down from Haunted Towns, that was supposed to have been a 100 ticket thing, but then they ended up having to cap it at 45 because our local rules have changed to the COVID.
Okay.
So I don't know how the October event's going to look. We also do a thing called Booze and Brews with them too, which is, people come drink beer, like one of the local craft brew places come and set up shop at the saloon and sell their beers, and so we do that and we go and tell stories. I don't know if that's happening yet. That's actually, I think that one got moved to October as well. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I don't know.
Everybody's up in the air. Yeah.
Everything's up in the air. So we were lucky. We had Bert Kreischer here last night, but we got rained out. We had
you had Bert Kreischer there?
Yeah, he's in Kansas City right now. He's there tonight at the drive-in in Independence.
I know where that is. Yeah, what's he watching? We'll be there.
No, he does his comedy. It's the summer drive-in thing that he's doing.
Yeah, summer drive-in thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Wichita, but my son and I had tickets to go, and we sat there for 5 hours, and then they ended up canceling it.
Oh,
while
mercy.
we sat there for 5 hours because we had a storm roll through. It kind of sucked, but
Dang,
at least
you were dedicated and everything.
Yeah.
So I had to use a vacation today.
Ghosts can't get COVID. What are they worried about? They're already dead.
But
what are they gonna do? Extra die?
Yeah. So, like I said, that was the only thing as far as things that are going on. That was the only thing that we were kind of looking forward to because it was something we could go and see that was live. But now like everything's back up in the air and we don't know what's going on. So.
Well, when it's back on the ground, send us an email or we'll contact you maybe at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And we would love to come visit the Wichita, come talk to you maybe in person one day.
Yeah.
And make this happen. It'd be a great, I think we could film it too for a weekend thing. So.
I ain't a fear to no COVID if you ain't, so.
And I would love to get back up to Belvar sometime too. So if you guys ever have an in to get into Belvar, I would definitely come up there and hang out with you guys up at Belvar too.
Cool. Yeah, we'll plead ignorant, right? I didn't know we couldn't be here. I didn't know.
I would not recommend acting ignorant there because they have a security guard that lives there on grounds, and you will be arrested. So don't go exploring.
Chase has known me forever. I've crashed a wedding just to see a museum as a first date. Just walking there acting like I know people. I can kind of weasel my way in and out of some sticky situations. That's my superpower.
Well, this dude's got a gun and handcuffs, maybe. So I would.
Yeah, but he'll want to buy me a beer later. He'll want to be on the show. If we have him on next week, I made it in. All right, how about that?
Get him on. So he can't get out there. I'll be glad to come up there for that.
All right, Shaun, thank you for your time, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for being here. This is eye-opening for me. I'm excited to do this one day.
Definitely.
Thanks for putting me on, guys. It was great.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll definitely, whenever this gets put up, I'll definitely put a thing out on our page, and so people can find you.
That'd be cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, find us. Find you, obviously, because you're awesome, and I'd hate for anything to happen to Wichita Paranormal. So
I'm about to hire him for our tech support guy.
Continued support from us and for your team. So keep doing you, Shaun, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, Shaun.
This episode has been brought to you by Woodies Sunglasses. Bing.